This is an introduction of the course Advanced Data Analytics. I was told that my voice in the video lecture is as exciting as reading a parliament proceedings. So by any rate, I think it is a good idea to allow you to jump to whatever path interests you in this video. So let's start with an introduction to the introduction first. First, we will introduce our plan of organizing the course, and most importantly, on the assignment, that is about how to get credit from it. Then I will talk about the contents. We will build a mind map of the landscape of this field we would like to explore, and I will show you our planned path. It is a bit lengthy tour, but I think it is worth taking. It will show you the beef from this course, and this is the beef of this introduction. Last, we will consider some computer tools that can be used for data analysis. So, what is the course of data analytics? I will use these terms interchangeably: analytics, analysis, learning from data. Okay, what does this course do? As any engineering subject goes, it exists to fulfill some practical purpose efficiently and effectively. In our case, is to build question-answering or intelligent machines. Say, you have a question, and there are some very nice people out there who want to share you their experience that is related to your query. Let's call it data. But unfortunately, those people are not completely best organized people. So you have to walk your own way of try to find your answer from the data. So what do? You build a machine that it takes the pain from you by looking into the data, crunching all the numbers, then work sort of some workable plan that can be used to answer your question while you are sitting there sipping your cup of tea, hopefully. Now we see there are three elements in the data analysis. You have a question and related data. There are patterns in the data that are discoverable and can be used to help answer your question. And the patterns are not explicitly told. Well, now I think I can safely guess most of you will have a question that, should I take this course? Will I get the credit? How will my score look like in 12 weeks' time? You may set out asking your senior classmates, and their experience can be your data. You may actually find one rule or two for getting high scores and get the credit from this course. Drinking a certain brand of coffee, or follow me on the Facebook maybe? No. This is a counterexample of data analysis, because the rules, or the patterns if you like, of how a student get a certain score is indeed told explicitly, as we will find in a moment. Of course, if for some subject, the course rules and assignments are not set up at the beginning, that query can be entirely illegitimate to predict one's scores, as we will use as an example later in this introduction. So first things first, how to get the credit? You need to do 3 assignments. Here is a summary. Okay. In the first one, you will be asked to read a paper from the literature. Good news for you is that the paper will be chosen by yourself. The task is to write a critical review of the paper, including what is the main point the authors of the paper claimed to make, and what was the state of the art at the time of the paper. Based on that ground, give your own judgment on how this paper contributed to the field. We will hand out the papers and organize each student to have one paper in the first week, and your report is due in the the fifth week by Tuesday. This assignment is supposed to be completed individually, and the task is the same for both undergraduate and postgraduate students. In the second assignment, each student, if you choose, you can work in pairs. Each student or a team will work out a specific data analysis algorithm and apply it on some practical problems. For the practical problem, if you are an undergraduate student, you may choose from some publicly available datasets. Someone we will even recommend you in this course. In fact, you should listen to your interest. Ask yourself on what kind of problem you have passion, and let your passion lead you to some practical problem. Identify the goal of the analysis. Determine which are the challenging issues. Find the data. Design an appropriate method and solve the problem, or at least give it a good try based on what you have learned from this course. Besides the report, each project should also have a video presentation in the form of a movie. In the movie, you can clarify your ideas better perhaps, and you can present the result and your idea in a more vivid form. Best movies will be chosen and played to all of us at the last week of this course. This assignment will be handled out at the start of this course, and it will be due at the second last week, which is the 10th week. For the postgraduate students, of course, you can follow the same course as the undergraduate students. Just we will employ a higher criteria for this assignment. But I strongly recommend you try to let the time, money, and effort you paid for this course worth their salt. You can have a careful study of the context of your work or business to see if there is any data accumulating. The answer is likely yes. And consider if there are any useful patterns behind the data. More likely than not, this is still to be a yes. So, if there is such a problem, can you design a data model, construct the model based on the data, and use the model to do some useful predictions? In whichever way you choose to do this assignment, we need a student to clearly outline the task, the criterion for success, the methodology you plan to employ, and the steps that how you carry out your plan. And of course, each project must be supported by experimental results showing that your method, how your method fulfills the original purpose of data analysis. It is entirely understandable that the difficulty of the practical problems varies very much. So we will not assess your success solely by or even mainly by the performance of your algorithm. Instead, it is the way that you approach the problem that matters. It is much more appreciated that you pick up a challenging problem and try your best to build a reasonable algorithm. But eventually, the algorithm's performance is okay, more or less, maybe mediocre. Than that, if you pick up some equation that has a known answer and hand in the 100% correct answer. The timeline for this assignment for the postgraduate student is the same as those for the undergraduate students. The assignment will be handed out at the beginning of this course and will be due in week 10. The third assignment for undergraduate students is a final exam, but the good news is that it is a take-home exam. In this exam, you will be given several open questions that attract much interest in modern data analytics or machine learning science. You are not expected to provide the perfect answers to those questions. Otherwise, you are not only worth a PhD degree, but you will be expected to supervise your own PhD students. However, to get a good result from this exam, you must show your effort in answering these questions. More specifically, in a good report, I expect to see a sufficient background study on the related questions and your own critical understanding and comments on the state of the art of the area. Then you can propose your own plan to solve the problem, or you can come up with your own theory explaining what is confusing people right now. In a sense, we can take this final exam as the extension of the first paper reading assignment. The difference is that instead of one paper, you must survey the literature related to one specific subject, and also you are expected to provide some your own creative innovation on how to contribute to the research. So the problems will be emailed you out in week 10, and your report is expected in week 11 by Tuesday, the lecture day. For the final and the third assignment, our goal is, well, make the world a better place and become very rich. Imagine that you quit your job tomorrow the first thing and become a partner of a startup. Now you need to find a domain in which data analytics can be profitably used, and you need to make a plan of solving problems and being useful to people in that domain. Your plan must look attractive for your potential investors. If you look for advice from me, I would like to bet my money on something that is significant. You are not supposed to achieve the peace of the world, but you cannot expect people to spend too much money on peanuts. On the other hand, white elephants won't sell either. The project should be useful or interesting. Better both. Second, there must be some intellectual challenge in the problem. Well, some projects may not be trivial. There are hard workings. For example, you may say that this is a very difficult analytic problem. If you give me the server cluster used in Google or Amazon, I can do all this sort of amazing analysis for you. But in that case, People may ask you that in this case, why I do not just do business with Google or Amazon. So we expect some creativity in your handling of the problem. You have to show something that you are smarter than the other people of the world in answering this request. Okay, great. Now we have a good problem. And the only thing left to do is to solve it. So you will need to clearly specify, plan the methodology and the procedures to carry out your plan, and analysis and discussion on why you think that plan will work. As you see, this assignment is handled out now, and it is due in the last week, which is week 11.